This is the new Dassault Falcon 6X. It's the high end of aviation luxury, a multi-million-dollar business jet really aimed at that elite aviation owner and operator market. It's an aircraft I've wanted to look at for a while, so let's have a look inside this very, very impressive aircraft, which I can't afford. I could very much get used to this. This is the interior of the new Dassault Falcon 6X. There's only one of them here in Australia at the moment. It's just down here on a demo day for the next couple of days. And they asked a few members of the media and the odd YouTuber as well to come down and have a look inside this incredibly impressive, top-of-the-line, high-end business jet.
But with a list price of over $50 million and operating costs of anything between $2 to $3 million on top of that every year, unless you are completely bonkers rich, why would you ever own a private jet? Is it not just cheaper to buy commercial airline tickets every time you need to fly? Or is there actually a sweet spot when, depending on how much you do fly each year, it could then work out more cost effective to own your own private jet instead? As someone who's always wanted to own a private jet but has also lacked in $50 million, as well as looking around this aircraft, discovering what it can do from a performance perspective, I also want to use this video as a bit of an excuse to finally do the calculations to see if I can work out when owning a private jet would be worth it. So let's get to know this very impressive aircraft. The Falcon 6X actually exists because its predecessor, the 5X, never actually made it into service. Back in 2013, the French company Dassault launched the Falcon 5X, but the aircraft relied on a brand new engine from a company called Safran, known as the Silvercrest. And unfortunately, that engine actually ran into repeated development problems. After years of delays and uncertainty around when the engines would finally be ready, Dassault made the difficult decision in 2017 to cancel the 5X program altogether. But rather than walk away from the design entirely, the company reworked the aircraft around a different engine, keeping much of the fuselage and aerodynamic work that had already been done for the 5X. And the result of that was the Falcon 6X, relaunched in 2018 and eventually entering service in 2023. In terms of the Falcon range, the 6X kind of sits somewhere in the middle. You've got the 2000 LXS with a few different variants, but it was launched back in 2014. The 6X, which has been out for a couple of years now, and let's also compare it to the 10X, which is due for release in 2027. Now, the 2000 LXS has got an advertised range of 4,000 nautical miles. Our 6X can do 5,500 nautical miles, with the 10X's range at 7,500 nautical miles. And in terms of passengers, the 2000 LXS, you can fit around 8 to 10 passengers on that one. The 6X can hold 12 to 16 passengers, but the 10X holding up to 19.
So if you do have 12 to 16 friends and a spare $50-something million, how do you work out if owning a private jet is actually the right decision for you? Well, you need to break down the whole financial transaction into two key things. Obviously, you've got your fixed costs and your variable costs. And your variable costs are all the things like the maintenance of the aircraft, the fuel, the engine sinking fund for things like an engine overhaul, crew expenses, airport fees, and other variable costs. Then you've got to look at your fixed costs, which outside of the cost of the aircraft itself are things like insurance, hangarage, the salaries that you'll be paying your staff, the training that you'll need to do for the staff who are flying and operating the aircraft. And of course, you need to look at depreciation of the asset itself. And there's a big calculation behind that. And probably, to be honest, a 2-hour video of going through all of those numbers. But I found across a few websites and a few calculations of my own, you can kind of estimate that to operate this aircraft, if you're doing about 400 flight hours a year, it's going to cost you somewhere between $14 to $18 per mile to run it. When I was chatting to the flight crew of the 6X, they were telling me that the clients that they fly around often fly into airports that aren't normally your big traditional commercial airports. As an example, they said flying from London to America for people who, for example, wanted to go across for the ski season might not be flying from Heathrow into Denver. They can actually fly directly from London City Airport across to Aspen. And if we use that as a typical example, now that flight is 4,168 nautical miles. A typical cruise speed for something like the 6X is around Mach 0.8, which is around 80% the speed of sound. And at that speed over that distance, assuming nil winds, obviously, it's going to take you 7.8 hours to get from London City into Aspen. And taking that $14 to $18 per mile, you can see that a flight like this is going to cost you in total, just to operate, $66,688. But of course, you're transferring 16 people on that flight, so if you divide that by the 16 people on board, it actually means it's $4,168 per person. Now, I compared the same flight into something that you could do with a commercial airline, and I would assume that the people who are traveling are going to travel in business class. First of all, there's no actual direct flights between airports like London City and Aspen, so you have to go via a few stopovers, meaning the travel time is going to be longer, and the cheapest business class fares I could find on that route started around $10,000. So on paper and in certain scenarios and with the right amount of flying per year, yes, you could actually make it stack up that it could be cheaper to have a private jet rather than flying commercially. And then there's the potential accounting benefits. I mean, if you have a depreciating asset which is potentially operating at a loss, you can use that to offset profits you might have elsewhere in other aspects of your business. So if you're doing enough flying during the year, if there's enough people that you need to transfer around the globe each year, if you're flying in and out of destinations that might not be served by commercial airlines, and if you've got a good accounting team who can actually make the numbers stack up, then yeah, there are ways that you could see having something like a private jet would be more cost effective than purely buying business class tickets with airlines every time you need to travel.
So there's a few different seating areas here in the aircraft itself. In the middle of the aircraft where I am, and pretty much just on the front of where the wing actually is this seating area for 4 people, a 2-2 configuration. So you can sit here, you can have lunch with your family members. It obviously would be good if you're having business meetings, talking to people, and instead of sitting side by side as you often would on an airplane, you can sit opposite each other and enjoy a meal or just be able to talk to each other during the flight itself. Then up the front of the aircraft there's another 4 seats. These two are actually separated, so the aisle goes in between them. So if you want a bit more space on your own, but you still want to sit opposite somebody, you've got the opportunity to sit back here, stretch out, enjoy the view of the 1, 2, 3, 4 windows that you have next to you. Or of course, if you don't like this side of the aircraft, because it's your own private jet, you can just move across to the other side instead. There's a couple of different reading lights down here as well, a few different options for lighting on this seat. You also have USB charging here as well. There's obviously 100 different cup holders and places to store your food and drinks. But if you haven't got enough food and drinks whilst you're flying, there's also the attendant call button here as well, because if you're the sort of person that would be flying in an aircraft like this, if you own something like this Falcon 6X, you've probably got the money to afford some staff members on board as well who are going to bring you some F&B servicing during the flight. And then at the back of the aircraft there's this whole sort of lounge area as well. So 2 sofas either side here. Each can sit, well, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seat belts, so another 6 people could sit down here in the back of the aircraft. And again, you've got everything you need in here. You've got places to store your drinks, there's USB charging back here as well, and it's so very light and spacious. But the thing I really want to try and demonstrate, if I can, if I just tilt my camera up here for a second. So I'm 184 centimeters tall, I'm 6'2", and in a normal private business jet this would actually be quite difficult, but here in the Falcon 6X, even at the back of the plane, I can stand up. I'm not having to duck down as I'm walking all the way through the aircraft here. I can stand up and I'm not banging my head at all. And then at the very far end of the aircraft, after you've been through all the different seating places, the little lounge area that I was just in, you have a little bathroom area as well, so a place just to obviously freshen up, because this aircraft can do quite long flights, so you need a little galley area, mirror and everything, and of course, well, facilities that you'll need on the long flights that this aircraft can do.
Sadly though, it was time to stop pretending to be a billionaire and actually go up to the part of the aircraft that I'm a bit more familiar with. I wanted to see what the cockpit was like, to understand what this plane is like to fly from a pilot's perspective.
And the engines are, it's the Pratt & Whitney.
Pratt & Whitney. And when we are light, a really great acceleration.
Yeah.
It's the same like the Mirage 2000, and we've got the same acceleration.
And for all you aviators out there as well, the Falcon 6X uses the Honeywell Easy-4 avionics system. It does need 2 pilots to operate this aircraft, and inside the very spacious cockpit you have your primary flight display on the left hand side, multifunction display in the middle, and a digital readout of all the other aircraft systems such as your engine, electrical systems, fuel systems, hydraulics, control surfaces, general status, and a lot more.
And we are setting the cruise level, and the 6.6 we're able to start even have a maximum takeoff weight at flight level 400.
You could start at 400.
Start
Wow.
400. Yes.
The aircraft uses digital checklists. There is of course a paper backup, and because there is so much information in front of you as a pilot, I was quite interested to know how you actually navigated around it all.
This works?
CCD, yes,
Yeah,
it's a trackball.
Yeah.
It's like the mouse. on your
Just like
computer.
a mouse on a computer. So can I move?
Yeah,
Yes,
for
okay,
sure.
so-
You see, you've got the cross in here, and you're able to move on this PDU, on the upper DU,
moves
and
across.
lower DU. And by my side, I'm able to move on my PDU and also both.
Dassault being a company that also makes military aircraft, the side stick is also based on the same design as the ones that are actually used in some of their fighter planes. And pilots also have access to what Falcon call Falcon Eye, which is basically a head-up display, a glass panel which overlays flight information on top of what you're actually seeing out of the front of the aircraft. So you can see all the relevant information that you need to see without having to move your eyes away from what's out the front of the aircraft, but also it allows you to see through things like low visibility on the ground to see any obstacles that might be in front of you whilst you're taxiing.
And the goal to be able to decrease the requested visibility by 1/3 and to go down to 100 feet on any kind of approach.
100 feet.
100 feet.
Sadly though, I didn't get to actually experience some of those very impressive performance benefits because the Falcon 6X was leaving Australia the next day, and in the couple of weeks since recording this I've noted it's been to KL, Bangkok, Phuket, back to Bangkok, Singapore, back to KL again, back to Singapore, back to Bangkok, Nagoya, Seattle, and it's currently at Teterboro Airport. And in today's climate, with political changes happening around the world, with military conflicts closing airspace, you can start to understand that if you are travelling enough and with enough people, having an asset like this within your company or organisation does give you the ultimate option to be able to travel where you want, when you want, and in a very, very comfortable and luxurious way. Please like this video so it can get 5 billion views and I can afford to buy this aircraft. But if that doesn't happen, I'm going to keep making aviation videos. So thanks as always for watching, and hopefully I'll see you on the next flight.